Hello, 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 and welcome to Sports Buzz, the Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Danbury, Connecticut, Comcast Cable Channel 23 on this October 25th. Halloween right around the corner, and maybe another Halloween storm right around the corner. Stay tuned for news on that. Check your local weather forecast because it doesn't sound too good what we're hearing. A possible another surprise storm coming up on the Halloween. So we'll keep our eye on that. I am flying solo, but I believe maybe we already have him on the phone. My right-hand man, Mr. Bob Rod Jr., is down at the Danbury Ice Arena checking out the Whalers. We'll open the phone lines momentarily. 203-792-4101 is the number, but let's see if we got Bob already on the line reporting from the Ice Arena. Hello, is this Mr. Bob Rod Jr.? Pretty good, Bob. How's it going down there at the arena?
Well, they haven't started yet. They're getting ready for warm-ups probably in another, I would say, about a half hour. They got a few bugs to work out yet, you know.
Well, it's opening night, third season for the FHL and for the new look Danbury Whalers.
They're having a few technical difficulties beyond their control.
Oh, it sounds like things that happen around here.
Yeah, you know.
We're very familiar with that sort of stuff. What's the vibe of the team? Were you with the team on Media Day on Monday? How are they feeling coming into the season?
We have everything tonight. We even have ESPN Radio down here tonight.
Oh, really? So they're ramping it up even more. What is that? I wonder if that's going to be a 940 locally. That'd be.
It's like 105.1, something like that.
Okay, so that's good. And of course, they're playing Williamsport Outlaws, who were located in New Jersey last year and were the team that beat them in the championship as the Whalers finished runner-up in the FHL Championship Series there. So they're getting to get a look at who beat them last year right off the bat to start the season. So, you know, it's a good test for them right as we get this thing going.
Well, Williamsport lost last night 5-2.
Oh, so
against the Dayton Demons.
Okay, so Dayton comes out and knocks the Outlaws, the defending champs, back on their opening night. Interesting. So maybe we'll see if Williamsport, because if you remember, the Outlaws were a juggernaut through the regular season and straight through the playoffs last year. So maybe they're not going to be quite as strong if opening night is an indication.
So they got a lot of new players, a lot of new faces, and so is the Whalers. So
and I
see
saw,
what happens, you know.
I saw, of course, Phil Esposito back for his second year as head coach. He's been with the organization all 3 years that they've been here in the FHL. And he was talking about how there's some trickle-down effect from this NHL lockout.
Yes.
Players looking for work, not necessarily NHL players, but minor league players possibly looking for work. So maybe the talent level will be up a notch, at least at the beginning of the year, before these guys maybe rejoin their teams.
This is true.
So that should be exciting to keep your eye on, see if the level of play goes up a little bit. Although, I mean, the games are pretty competitive, even if there isn't that trickle-down effect. The FHL has been putting a good product on the ice for their fans, and Danbury, of course, their fans supportive. It's a little early. What time does the game start? 7:35. So have we seen any fans come down yet? Or are they starting?
Yep. There's a few fans trickling in already. You know, they're getting ready for, you know, to have a great night. You know.
All right. Well, opening night's always exciting in any sport. So they got to be happy about that. Did you hear the news about the New York Islanders, Bob? Speaking of the NHL,
I saw it yesterday. They're moving to Brooklyn.
Yeah, the Isles rejoining the Nets. Some of you may remember that it was the Nets who used to reside on Long Island with the Islanders, and they eventually moved to New Jersey. And now, of course, we know the Nets are the Brooklyn Nets starting this year. And it was announced yesterday the Islanders, with all their troubles with the arena, have finally made the decision that they ran out of time on Long Island to get anything done, and they are going to join the Nets in the new arena there in Brooklyn. They say 2015, but I got a feeling they might get their way out of Long Island sooner than that.
I think they will be there before that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like this year at all, but I would guess next year or maybe 2014, not 2015. But either way, that's a big move. It's good and bad. The Islanders, have long-standing history out there on the island, and some fans are going to be hurt by this, but at least they're not moving out of the region and they're staying in the New York area. So a lot of fans will still be able to enjoy them over there in Brooklyn.
Yeah, but and one nice thing is too. I mean, the Sound Tigers are right here in Bridgeport.
Yep.
So, I mean,
that's big for Bridgeport because
for them to for guys to come up and down. So
yeah, that's big for Bridgeport because they won't have to move. If the Islanders headed to a different part of the country, they could take their minor league team with them. So Bridgeport breathes a sigh of relief over that news. So that's a good thing. I think overall, I heard the owner yesterday doing an interview, and he's very excited, and he thinks it's going to make a big difference for the team from a competitive standpoint. So that's good news. All right, Bob, well, we have to keep moving the show along here. Thanks.
Okay, can we talk a little baseball from last night?
Yeah, you want to stay on the line? We'll do that. World Series began last night.
The Giants, they came out banging that ball, and especially what's his Panda?
Kung Fu Panda, Pablo Sandoval, becomes just the fourth player in World Series history to hit 3 home runs in a game. We've got the Babe, we've got Mr. October, we've got El Hombre, which isn't really a nickname that is stuck for Albert Pujols, and now we have Kung Fu Panda joining that short list as he took it deep against Verlander, which is big trouble for Detroit with their ace on the mound in Game 1. He gets rocked as the Giants continue the momentum that they took in from beating the Cards, rallying from that 3-1 deficit, coming all the way back and winning and heading into the World Series. They stay at home in San Francisco, and they win Game 1 8-3, in large part due to the power of Kung Fu Panda. How about that, Bob?
Oh, it was great. I watched the whole game. It was really something to see see Verlander get knocked out. That was something.
Yeah, it was a huge performance by the Giants. And we talked about this in the playoffs. It was the National League where the action was at. In the American League, it was all the struggles of the Yankees couldn't hit against the Orioles, against the Tigers. Oakland and Detroit played a series. Not a lot of offense in either one of those series. And even though Detroit swept the Yankees, they did it in large part on pitching and the batting woes of the Yankees. They didn't score many runs in that series either. So it was in the National League where you saw more drama, more offense mixed with pitching. And the Giants, who are amazing, Bob, 6-0 this postseason in elimination games. If you remember losing the first 2 games to Cincinnati, they had to win 3 straight in Cincinnati to beat the Big Red Machine in advance. And then they fall behind to St. Louis, who had a similar streak dating back to last year. We're 6-0 in elimination games until Game 7 of the NLCS when they lost in San Francisco. So the Giants really got something going right now. They've got a good offensive thing happening. Their bats are looking good. And, everybody talks about Verlander. The Giants got some pretty good pitchers themselves. Barry Zito, the forgotten man who has now come up big in 2 straight outings for San Francisco. And Matt Cain will be coming up in this series, and they got some other guys who can really get it done. So I think that's a big win for San Francisco to set the tone here in this World Series.
It was a great game. I mean, they just got San Francisco just dominated. Yeah,
they really did. And we'll see what happens tonight if they can take a 2-0 lead. But it should, I don't know, we'll see what happens. I mean, remember last time Detroit was in the World Series 2006, they lost to St. Louis. They had the long layoff between World Series and ALCS, and they had the same problem here. But I don't know if that's as big a factor this time around, so much as I just think that maybe San Fran is the better team. And we're going to find out over the course of 7 games or less. And we'll see. How about some other news in baseball, Bob? First, we saw Bobby Valentine get fired after 1 season in Boston, and then yesterday, Ozzie Guillen gets fired way down there in Miami for the Marlins after just 1 year. How about that?
Oh, I guess he opened his mouth at the beginning of the year, and I guess it just...
Well, it started early with Ozzie when he proclaimed that he loved Fidel Castro.
Oh, yeah.
Down in Miami after they moved the team into that new arena in an area of Miami that is heavily populated by Cuban immigrants who have left Cuba to get away from Fidel Castro. Ozzie claims he was misunderstood in his comments, saying that he thought Fidel Castro was this great guy. Interestingly enough, he was suspended, he apologized, but really from then on, he had problems and the team underperformed in a big way. So he's out in Miami. And how about this? The Red Sox finally get their man who apparently they wanted last year. John Farrell, who didn't really fare well in Toronto. A team that some people thought might take a step forward under him. They did not. Instead, it was the Orioles, which were the team in the American League East that did so. Farrell didn't do great there in Toronto, but, so they get rid of Tito. They bring in Bobby V, and now they bring back Tito's pitching coach. Maybe they should have just kept Tito if they liked him and his guys so much. Why cut out the middleman? John Farrell's there, and this is what I will say about the Red Sox. They should move to Missouri because right now they need to show me something. And Missouri, the show me state, could use a baseball team. And just hiring John Farrell as the coach isn't enough for me. They're going to need to show me a lot more up there in Boston. So that's your baseball news. I was going to move on to college football, Bob. If you want to stay on the line, I'm more than happy to keep you here. Top 5 in college football right now. It is still Alabama holding on to number 1. And Bama's going to get maybe a little bit of a test this weekend. Of course, they crushed Tennessee this past week. But they get number 13th ranked and undefeated Mississippi State this weekend. Of course, his point spread is 25 points, so they don't think this is going to be much of a test, I guess, from a point spread situation. But Mississippi State at least is undefeated, so we'll see what happens there. And of course, the bigger test may come down the road in the SEC championship game. Florida remains undefeated after they crushed South Carolina, and they moved to number 2. Oregon is still, kind of feeling jilted here in the standings, not getting as much love, but they're going to get a chance to leapfrog Florida and get back to that number 2 spot when they play some tougher games down the stretch, including undefeated 7th-ranked Oregon State, and they will also get USC later in the year. So Oregon's power rankings are going to go up, and they could move ahead. And of course, Florida and Alabama are going to take care of each other anyways. One of those teams is going to lose when they face each other in the SEC championship game. Kansas State is the team now continuing to keep themselves in the mix, and Oregon's going to have to worry about them crashing the party. They went down and ended the Heisman hopes of Geno Smith 2 weeks in a row now. West Virginia has gotten crushed, and Geno Smith has gotten crushed. K-State just roughed them up in West Virginia. And of course, number 5, Bob, Notre Dame remains undefeated. They're doing it in large part with defense as they squeaked one out against BYU. And this weekend, they get Oklahoma, number 8th ranked.
Very interesting game.
Yeah, Oklahoma's got the offense. We know that they suffered a defeat early in the year, so they've been out of the championship picture. But they've played much better since, and we know Big 12 teams love to throw that offense at you. Notre Dame's defense is going to get put to the test down in Oklahoma. The Sooners are going to try to knock them off. So that'll be an interesting game. Some other big games, Florida is undefeated, but they want to get to that championship game. They're going to have to get by number 10th ranked Georgia this weekend. The biggest, they call that the drinking thing there, the cocktail party. That's what it's called down there in Gainesville, Florida. The biggest cocktail party in the land. So that game's going to be huge. And another big game is Kansas State goes against Texas Tech, which is ranked 14th. And a couple other teams to mention here, Big East-wise especially, Bob, undefeated, not getting much love in the poll. Number 16, Louisville, remains undefeated. And Rutgers, who has played very well, is also undefeated, still ranked number 18. So those are that's the college football picture right there. What is happening with that? You got any thoughts on what's going on in college football, Bob?
Not really. It's, it should be a good season. There's still a lot of good teams out there.
A lot of good storylines continuing with Notre Dame, of course, being one of those. Anytime they're in the mix, that's a big thing. Another big game this weekend, I think it's this weekend, Penn State versus Ohio State. We haven't touched on Penn State really since the beginning of the year. They have won, 5 straight since 2 brutal losses. And Bill O'Brien is getting an early talk now as Coach of the Year for what he's done in Penn State. Of course, Ohio State and Penn State both are ineligible for postseason play. Ohio State is undefeated, but really, who cares? They can't do anything. Anyways, but it is an interesting matchup. I did want to mention quickly, next week we are going to start talking NBA a little bit more as the season gets underway. Your Knicks there, Bob. Tyson Chandler joins Amari Stoudemire in the Walking Wounded.
Yes, I see that.
He hurt his knee last night. We'll wait for the test results in a preseason game last night. And, of course, they opened the season. How much do you think the tickets are going for Nets-Knicks opening night in Brooklyn?
I think it's like anywhere from $800 to...
Yes. $800 to get to see that game there in Brooklyn as they open the arena there in Brooklyn. That's right. We'll see what goes on. All right, NFL. Of course, it was the Patriots and the Jets this weekend.
Did a great job in overtime.
Yes, and they got to play. This was the first time, I think, for both these teams playing with the new overtime rules. It never should have got to this, but the Patriots' fourth quarter woes continue, Bob, and this is something that is very concerning. I think it has more to do with the offense than it does the defense, because the offense, all they have to do is execute one drive or maybe a first down here or there to put the game away, and they are not doing it in the fourth quarter. And I blame Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, for poor play. I mean, unbalanced offensive approach is what I would say. They go sometimes to the run. They go to the hurry-up offense. They sometimes slow it down on offense, but they still go with the pass plays. And then he's bringing in the trickeration, trick plays, flea flickers, reverses, and all that stuff. And, I just think they need to line up, balance the offense. They can do a running play and a passing play, and then a running play, and then maybe 2-3 passing plays, and then a running play. It doesn't have to be one possession at a time where it's only runs, only trick plays, only hurry-up offense. I think that is what's really messing this team up from an offensive standpoint, and they're just not executing. And when it comes to the fourth quarter, their execution is very low. So they almost blew another game here. They let the Jets get right back into it and actually take a lead.
They decided to screw it up.
Yeah, and then the Jets went to the prevent defense, and the Patriots offense did execute. After they blew the lead, they went down 26-23, just over a minute left. They had, 2 timeouts? Plenty of time. They easily got into field goal range as the Jets defense did not step up at all, and they forced the overtime. It was nice seeing Gostkowski hitting a couple kicks. We know earlier in the year he missed that game winner against Arizona. There were some question marks about him. He missed some field goals in another game after that, but he hit the big kick to force overtime, then a big 48-yarder in overtime to give them the lead, and the defense then comes up with the big play as they sack Sanchez, force the fumble. Ninkovich comes up with the fumble recovery. Game over. Drive home safely, everybody. It's a win for the Patriots. And the way this season is going, ugly doesn't matter. You take the victories when you can get them, and they took that one right there. So it was a big win for the Patriots to move ahead of the rest of the AFC East at 4-3. I mean, overall, not where they want to be. but
Right.
first place still counts for something.
Right, it does.
And they pushed the Jets back, and now the Jets, and the fans for the Jets are complaining about the way they're using Tebow. I mean, I can't really figure it out. I think some fans want more Tebow, and I think other fans, they think that they're just messing up their offense by bringing Tebow in. I'm not quite sure what it is. We've got to keep our eye on some of their running backs. So McKnight, we know, is playing on a banged-up knee, and Sean Green, did you see that hit that Brandon Spikes?
I thought he was out.
Oh, my goodness. I could not believe he actually got up. He was out on his feet, and then he was on the ground for about 10, 15 seconds, and then he got up.
Popped right back up. I thought, the umpire was signaling for the whole.
Yeah, they wanted the sidelines to send the guys in, bring the stretcher. Wasn't good. So, they had their problems there. But he did get back up. I'm not sure how he'll be this weekend. And how about this war of words as the Jets go on? They're facing the Dolphins this weekend. And we remember just a few weeks ago, they beat the Dolphins in a game the Dolphins should have won down in Miami in overtime. A couple missed field goals by Miami. They felt like they let that one get away. But how about the war of words? The Jets were talking about how they needed to put Reggie Bush out in that game. They were going to put the hot sauce on Reggie Bush, and then they got maybe a questionable cheap hit on him, and he got hurt in that game and knocked out. And then later in the game, Revis gets injured, and Bush says after the game, what goes around comes around. You guys talked all that trash about knocking me out, and then your guy gets hurt, and Rex Ryan says he wants an apology from Reggie Bush. I mean, how about that, Bob? They want an apology after they talked all that trash and then went out and put a cheap shot on Reggie Bush, and he just goes ahead and responds to that. So this game's got always interesting, Dolphins-Jets. Dolphins are playing well at 3-3. They'd like to move ahead of the Jets, go to 4-3, and keep the Jets down. They could move them to 3-5, which would be a death blow for the Jets. So this is a big game this weekend. Huge game for them. So we'll see what happens there. All right, how about your Giants? Were you sweating against the Redskins?
Oh, I was sweating. I was very waiting for that big play to come, and it did.
Well, I mean, how can the Redskins defense allow when the Giants need a touchdown to beat you, and they just allow Victor Cruz to run a straight go route to win the game, basically. Unbelievable this is, how this can happen in an NFL game where there's professional defensive players on the field. I mean, we've seen this last year, I believe it was, or it might have been the year before. We saw this Randy Edsall-led teams with UConn, where they, in final minutes of game, when a touchdown beats you, you give up a 77-yard play on a pass play where there isn't a broken tackle. It isn't like a guy had to juke a bunch of guys. He runs a straight go route, and he gets by the defense. Nobody stays back. I mean, even if he catches the ball, you can't let him then run to the end zone to end the game, basically. Just unbelievable that the Redskins allowed this to happen. But what are your thoughts on RG3? The Giant defenders at the beginning of the year basically said, we're not going to call him RG3. We're not going to give him any of these nicknames. We're going to call him Bobby Griffin. We're not buying into this whole thing. After the game, they say, we're going to call him Sir, and we will call him RG3. He was the best quarterback that we have faced yet this year. So Redskins fans...
That's a true compliment from the Giants.
Yeah, from their defensive linemen, too. So high praise indeed. So big plays by RG3, who continues to impress. Redskins moving forward, got a lot to look forward to, but they could not come up with the win right there. And your G-men moved to 5-2, Bob. And what do you got? Who do you guys got? Oh, big rematch with the Cowboys this weekend.
Yeah.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah.
Unimpressive, to say the least. After their Week 1 beating of the G-men, they are now 3-3. They've been crushed by Seattle, crushed by Chicago in Dallas. They blew a game that they could have won against Baltimore, and then they were unimpressive in their two other wins, Tampa and Carolina, this past weekend. Dallas, 2 weeks ago, looked actually good in defeat against Baltimore. They go back and they go home and play Carolina, and they look horrible in a win. So we don't know what to expect out of the G-men. They've got some injuries in their running back situation. We're not sure Felix Jones and their other guy, if he's going to be healthy. You got a little problem with Bradshaw and his foot. We got to keep our eye on him. And he was also jawing with Coughlin on the sideline, thinking you guys should have run the ball a little bit more during that game against the Redskins. So that was interesting to see. But I think the Giants are looking for a little revenge, and they always play well down in Dallas. What do you think there, Bob?
I think so. I think it's going to be a tough game.
Staying in your division, the Eagles off the bye week, desperate right now, 3-3. They're usually very good off the bye. They play the Falcons at home in Philly this weekend. I think this is a big chance for the Eagles to knock off the final undefeated team, the Falcons, who have not looked great in their last 2 games. They, of course, had a bye week as well. Other stories in the NFL, the Ravens at 5-2 suddenly look like a team that could go into a free fall if you listen to everybody around the league. I don't think it's going to get that bad, but they are hurting.
I don't think so either, but anything's possible in football. But
they got crushed against the Texans, who had to come back after getting crushed by the Packers the week before. The Texans reaffirmed themselves as the best team in the AFC at 6-1. But losing Ladarius Webb and losing Ray Lewis, big losses for the Ravens defense, and they looked horrible down there in Texas. And now watch out, Steelers, who have been playing with key injuries and trying to get healthy. They're not quite there yet, but they're just kind of overcoming right now, sitting at 3-3. So I'd keep your eye on them in the Ravens division. In the NFC, the Bears look very good. The Lions fading away fast. Bears at 5-1. Packers surging a little bit, Bob, moving to 4-3, but they have injuries as well in their rushing attack. Greg Jennings now needs surgery, so that's not good. Vikings are looking good right now, but they're kind of a team that we don't know that much about. Defensively very good. They've got a big game tonight, as a matter of fact. Could be a trap game because Tampa Bay can put up offense. Vikings living on defense. Vikings really need this win tonight in prime time. Other things, the Saints won 2 straight, but they head to Denver this weekend. What do you think about that, Bob?
I think that could be a very good game.
Could be. They're going to have to score a lot of points.
I've had a good game in the last couple of weeks, so.
All right. I'm being told that we're going to have to wrap this up. So I was flying solo, but my man Bob comes through on the phone for the entire show, live from the Danbury Ice Arena. How about that? Great job by you, Bob. I'll plug your show, Spotlight On, which I wasn't going to plug because you were blowing me off this week. But, of course, check out Spotlight On. And, of course, check out Mike Tui's show, Expose Cinema, on right here on Comcast Cable Channel 23. And head to the Ice Arena. You can still get there. The game starts at 7:30. We'll be back next week. What's that, Bob?
I'll be back next week and come down on Saturday night because we got another home game for the Whalers.
All right, Saturday night against Cape Cod. So enjoy the show. They're rolling the credits. I'm out of here. Enjoy the games. Enjoy everything. We'll see you next week.